Yo, what's happening? Appreciate y'all being here once again. Thank you. Today we're going to talk about something that everybody goes through at some point in their life, and that's setbacks and how to turn setbacks into comebacks, Whether it's like failed business, for instance, or if you failed the exam, or if you just didn't reach a personal goal that you had, such as like a fitness goal or something like that, they can feel like the end of the road, but setbacks aren't the end. And we're going to talk about why, man. They're not the end, they're just the beginning of your comeback. So how do you turn your setbacks into comebacks? Well, let's talk about it. First thing, what are setbacks? Well, they're simply obstacles and challenges that hinder our progress, to interrupt our progress. And they feel frustrating and disheartening at times, but they're normal. Everybody goes through trials and tribulations. Everybody has their share of setbacks, even though it doesn't seem like it in this day and age, because we constantly seeing everybody's highlight reel on social media. So a lot of times you feel like other people aren't going through shit when you are, but that's not the case. Everybody has setbacks. And the thing is, setbacks, they don't define who you are, but it's how you respond that really is the tale of the tape. How you respond to your setbacks is really shows what you're made out of, right? So, for instance, like some of the most successful people in the world have been through setbacks, and they wouldn't be successful without those setbacks. I remember reading a couple years ago, I read the book called Shoe Dog, and it's like the biography or autobiography of Phil Knight. And if you don't know who Phil Knight is, he is the founder of Nike. And we know how successful Nike has been and is still to this day. When I was reading that book, what stood out is that he went through hell, like getting that company off the ground and running. Like he went through hell, and it's a good read. You should read it. But he went through a lot, and he could have gave up at any point in his journey, nobody would have blamed him because he went through so much. But he had a vision, and he stuck to that vision. He's seen in his mind's eye what Nike would eventually become, and he stuck to it, and he kept going. And if he didn't, Nike wouldn't be what it is today. It probably wouldn't even be around today if he didn't go through all the hell that he went through and fought for what he believed in. So the most successful people, man, they go through setbacks. I know y'all heard the story of MJ, Michael Jordan, getting cut from his high school basketball team. And if he would have quit, he wouldn't be MJ. He wouldn't be Michael Jordan. He wouldn't have became the greatest of all time. Instead of quitting, he went and upped his game, came back bigger, better, stronger the next year. And it's history after that, right? So, if they can bounce back, you can bounce back, right? So, step one, how do you overcome your setbacks? Well, step one is you have to change your perspective, right? You got to shift your perspective. Instead of seeing it, your setback as a failure, you got to see it as a lesson. And you got to ask yourself, what can you learn from the lesson that's being taught? What can you learn from it? You got to ask yourself, what went wrong? What did I do wrong? And how can I change that going forward? How can I do better next time? Failures are often our best teachers because they show us where we have room for opportunity to grow. So just remember, you got to shift your perspective and not look at a setback as a failure. I know it's hard in the moment, but just change your perspective. Ask yourself, what can you learn? What can you glean from this experience that you're going through in the moment? Step two, rebuild your confidence. And we rebuild your confidence by, if you've been here before, you heard me say it, you got to celebrate the small wins, man. You got to build some small wins, which the small steps build momentum. And so that's why it's important. Don't neglect the small things that you can do to help rebuild your confidence and help you build up that momentum and get back on track and get your focus back, right? Focus on what you can do in the moment when a setback happens and just take a tiny step forward, because those things add up over time. They accumulate, they help build your momentum and help you get better and get back on the right track. So, and also surround yourself with positive people, surround yourself with positivity. positive affirmations. If you're faith-based, dig into the Bible, pray, meditate, do all those things. Do whatever it takes to keep you on a positive path, man. Like, don't go into that negative corner of your mind. Don't let that invade your mind. So you want to stay positive, and you want to like shift your perspective into what can you learn, instead of, damn, I'm a loser, I'm a failure, blah blah blah. Don't dwell on that. Step 3, and here's a big one, man. This is a big one. I failed in the past because I didn't do this, right? I quit my job. Like 2021, I quit my job, right? And I had the bright idea. I had goals. Had a bright idea that I wanted to be, entrepreneur. I wanted to try my hand at the business world, right? But here's the thing. I didn't have a plan. So I just had goals. And goals are cool, but a goal without a plan is just a goal. Just some shit you wrote down on paper. It doesn't mean anything. It's just an idea. So if you don't have a plan, you're probably not going to go too far. So step 3 is to create a comeback plan. Have a plan for what you want to do. First, you got to know what you want to do. You got to have the vision. You got to know exactly what you want to do. Be specific about it. But then you create the plan. And off of the plan, the goals are inside the plan. So create a comeback plan. Assess your situation. You got to know where you're at right now to know where you need to go. And be honest with yourself. You got to take accountability, take responsibility for your life. Look in the mirror. And then you got to figure out what you need to change and what you need to do. So assess your situation. What went wrong in the past, all of that. And what needs to change. That's assessing the situation and taking accountability. 2, you got to set clear goals, right? Define what success looks like. And then create your goals based on that, right? Write down your goals. Be specific about them. And then step 3 is to break the goals down into smaller steps, smaller actionable steps that you can take. Progress is progress. You can't do everything overnight. You know what I'm saying? It's always better to take small steps that add up into the bigger steps, the bigger goals. So progress is progress, no matter how small. So just break your goals down to smaller steps to where you know you can get them accomplished, and put a deadline on them and check it off. And that's going to build that momentum, right? And 4 is just to stay consistent. Stay consistent with your plan. Work your plan. And you might have to revise it along the way, but make sure you're working it. Make sure you're looking at it. And make sure you're doing something every day or as often as you can. Consistency will pay off. So make sure you have a plan. That's very important, man. Create a plan. I failed in the past because I didn't have a plan. I just had goals, and goals are just goals without a real concrete plan. You got to have a plan for where you want to go, no matter what it is you want to do. You want to make more money, you need to be specific about how much you want to make and how you're going to get there. Are you going to learn a new skill? Are you going to apply yourself more at work to get a promotion? Are you going to get a better job that pays more money? How are you going to do that? You gotta know these things. You can't just say, I want to make some more money this year or in the next 5 years. You can't just say that. You got to be specific about how much you want to make, and then you got to define the plan, define the actions that you're going to take to get to there. And that's what the plan is about. All right, step 4 coming off of that is you got to be patient. You got to be patient. You got to be resilient. Comebacks don't just happen overnight. And it seems like you might fall off like overnight. That doesn't happen overnight either. Like a lot of times when we fall off or encounter a setback, those things have been set in motion over time. The decisions that you made in the past have led up to you falling off or coming up to a roadblock. And so both things don't happen overnight, even though running into a setback seems like it just came out of the blue a lot of the time. But that's not the case. If you look back at the decisions you've made and some of the things you've done, they led up to where you're at right now, or they led up to the setback. Anyway, what I was saying is you got to embrace resilience, and you got to be patient. You got to be patient. Resilience is about your ability to bounce back from the setbacks. You know what I'm saying? It's not about avoiding challenges. It's about facing your challenges head on and refusing to give up on your vision. Patience is just understanding that great things are going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's about delayed gratification. You got to trust the process, stay committed, stay consistent, and don't let obstacles deter you from your long-term vision. And with that, those are the 4 steps. Now, like I said, there are a lot of people who have endured setbacks. You probably endured setbacks that you might not even consider setbacks, because a lot of times when setbacks happen, we tend to forget what we've been through in the past. I've been through some major setbacks. Divorce, lost everything. Like I said, I quit my job in 2021 thinking I was going to be an entrepreneur. End up going broke and going into depression. And so I bounced back from those things. I ended up having to go back into the workforce, but I'm here now, and I'm doing a lot better. And now I have a plan for what I want to do. So if I can do it, you can do it, man. There are people before you that have done it. Take Steve Jobs, for instance. Steve Jobs created Apple, got fired from Apple, got pushed out of his own company that he created or co-created, and ended up coming back into the company years later and propelling it to the level that we see it at now. His foot, even though he's gone, his fingerprint is still on that company, and so you can do it. If they can do it, you can do it. Malcolm X is in the streets, man. Ended up going to jail. Got his mind right, found himself. He was Malcolm Little, became Malcolm X. Became a great leader, activist. If he didn't have to sit down for those years or however long he had to sit down and go to jail for, he probably would have never found himself and found his greatness, right? Found his calling. And so a lot of times setbacks are just a kick in the ass to show you where you're at, what you're doing wrong, and to get you back on the right track. It's like life is putting a mirror in front of your face. You got to really look into that mirror and not avoid it anymore. So that's what the setbacks are often indicative of. I'm at a loss for words right there, but setbacks are necessary. Is what I'm trying to say. They're often necessary to get us back on the right path, or to help us find ourselves and help us find our calling. A lot of the times, and to provide testimony. If you've never been through nothing, how can you coach other people or tell other people or give advice to other people if you've never been? Who gonna listen to you if you've never been through shit? You got to go through some things in order to get to the other side, where it's like brighter, where the light is at. So you got to go through the darkness to get to the light a lot of the time. So don't look at a setback as a dead end. Don't look at it as a failure. Just look at it as what you can learn. It's a learning lesson for you. So to recap, steps to overcome a setback are 2. 1, shift your perspective. See the failure in the lesson. Rebuild your confidence. Take the small wins and stay positive. Always try to stay as positive as you can, even though it's hard. Step 3, create a clear plan. You got to have a plan for the comeback and take consistent action once you create that plan. And step 4 is to embrace patience. Be patient, be resilient, knowing that every little step is going to count. And so what's stopping you, man? Once you got all those things in order, what's stopping you? If God is with you, who can be against you? You got to go. Don't be afraid to go through something. You know what I'm saying? You got to go through something to grow. And so with that said, I appreciate y'all for watching, for tuning in, for listening. It's art versus arteria, and it's you versus you. So do what you got to do to make your life the best life it can be. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.